if you happen to be in this part of the world, you certainly would have considered India one of the pre-tournament favorites. How quickly that has changed after the events of yesterday. Now we're talking about another team who have firmly established themselves as favorites as far as their on-field performance is concerned, and they are up against Sri Lanka today. That is our single header. England versus Sri Lanka, coming to you from Sharjah. This is match number 29, and it's a Group 1 game, a group that is being contested by 6 test-playing nations. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live to look forward to this fixture. Toss news coming in. We'll update you with all that very shortly. But for now, it's time to welcome my guests on the show, Michael Vaughan and Harsha Bhogle. Good evening, gentlemen. Michael, England all set to try and show more of the champion side they are.
Yeah, it's been plain sailing so far for the England side. They've won every toss. They've bowled, they've restricted, and then they've chased down. You know, let's be honest, they've chased down with an ice cream in the hand, a cigar, whatever you want to say. It's been so comfortable for them. Can they do it the other way when they have to bat first? Look, they've got the power, they've got the skill, they've got the smartness, they've got the captaincy. They've pretty much got everything that you'd want in a T20 unit. So the perfect start for England. They play great cricket. Can they continue to play that style of cricket throughout the tournament? One thing is for sure, they'll try and play that way, but I'm sure there will come a day, and it might be today against Sri Lanka, where they do get challenged that little bit more than they have done already.
Well, if there's one blip they have, and one thing they've done wrong today, it's win a toss. They haven't won the toss, Harsha. Sri Lanka have won the toss, so England, we will see them setting a total today.
I wish I could say what Michael did about the cigar and the ice cream. I've sort of been tearing my hair out, so I'll just have a sip of coffee. That's all. No, but I actually think this is excellent for England, because at some point they're going to have to bat first. So why not bat first in Sharjah and see how the dynamics play out? So if I was an England fan, I wouldn't mind at all that England are batting first. They're playing at a different level. What I liked about England is what I wanted to see with India yesterday. In spite of being defending champions of the 50-over World Cup, but in spite of being the pre-tournament favorites, they're playing front runners without worrying too much about it. They're continuing to play in their own style. Roy and Bairstow and Butler are still batting exactly the same way. There's no caution at all. They're not conservative. So it's actually been great fun watching England bat in spite of being front runners. It's something I wanted to see India bat yesterday, but they were way too conservative. So looking forward to seeing England set the pace in this game.
Yeah, brave was the word that was used by Virat Kohli, or lack of bravado. But we'll come to that discussion in a moment. Let's quickly have a look at the playing 11s, because basically there is no change for either side. So just a quick look at what both sides are putting out in the park. Michael, I know you were whispering a possibility of maybe a David Willey coming in, but when you've got a combination doing that well, why fix it? Or why break what's not? Why fix what's not broken? I'll get that right someday.
Yeah, I mean, the combination has been winning. Tamar Mills in the last game got hit around a bit, but, Owen Morgan is very consistent. I've spoken about it a lot on Cricbuzz about Morgan's very similar to MS Dhoni. When he gets an 11, he just keeps going with them. They're winning. They're playing good cricket. They know each other's roles very well. They're a well-oiled unit. Out in the middle. They're not predictable. You go back to the last game against Australia. England would have done their research about off-spin bowling to Australia, the likes of Warner and Finch and co. Their strike records against off-spin is higher than any of the bowlers. So what happened? Moeen Ali didn't bowl. Moeen Ali didn't bowl one over on the back of the first 2 games in the tournament. He was outstanding. So England do their research on who they're playing, and they've got so many different variations and formations and kind of partnerships that they can offer the opposing side. It's not always the same. Even though someone might have bowled well in the last game, it may be today that bowler might not be used, because they've worked their kind of data system and their matchups to suggest that bowler's not going to have as much success against Sri Lanka. We'll have to wait and see what that is, but they're a very unpredictable side, England, in terms of the bowling, because you're never quite sure what they're going to deliver.
Yeah, unpredictable in one sense, Harsha, but predictable in the sense of the attitude that they bring to the table, and that's not going to change.
No, it won't. I'll be surprised today if Moeen Ali doesn't bowl, because this side has Kusal Perera, Charit Asalanka, and Bhanuka Rajapaksa. So you will see a lot of maybe Moeen Ali up front bowling off breaks. But Michael makes a very interesting parallel with MS about Moeen not bowling the other day. I remember Harbhajan Singh once asking MS Dhoni, saying, "I didn't bowl a single over today," and he said, "Didn't feel the need." So he probably said to Livingston, "You're bowling 4 today, Moeen. I don't feel the need." What Morgan is doing really well, he's actually only got 6 bowling options. He's making it look like he's got many more by the way he's moving his lead bowlers around. I actually thought they might get an extra bowling option instead of Malan, but he doesn't feel the need. He's going in with the same side. He's telling Malan, one day I might need you, one day I won't. They're playing fabulous cricket. So if I was an England fan, I wouldn't mind them being stretched today. Wouldn't mind a close win, because as I keep saying, it's like getting that close match in the 3rd round in Wimbledon. You don't want to suddenly come all the way to the quarterfinals and suddenly have a close match.
Yeah, Harsha alluded to that before Pakistan's second game, and they did sort of get stretched a little bit. So from their perspective, their tournament's progressing just the way they'd like. So you wouldn't mind that, Michael. But from Sri Lanka's perspective, quick look at their squad. They'll need to pick themselves up. They've had a bit of an up and down tournament. Individuals have performed, but I reckon it's the veterans, the Kusal Pereiras of the world, who really need to step up, while you've got the new faces like Asalanka who have been coming to the table.
Yeah, what about Avishka?
Yeah, Avishka.
Yeah, go on, Michael.
Yeah, Avishka Fernando's the one. I look at Fernando and think, he's lucky to continue in his position. Pereira at the top of the order. I still think he's got something to offer. I think he's a player that's very, very dangerous. He's not fired as much as he would like of late, but I do think he's very dangerous. Fernando at 4, I just feel that, I mean, DK was saying the other day, and agreed with him, that sometimes players need a little bit of time out of the firing lineup, just taken out of the side and then brought back in. The one thing in his favour this evening is chasing. It clearly gets a little bit easier to bat at night when that dew comes down. So he'll have a better advantage tonight than he does if he was chasing, but setting, sorry. But I am surprised Sri Lanka have gone with the same side, I have to be honest.
Harsha, quick one, since you did mention Fernando at that point. Yeah. Is it, as Michael said, about maybe popping him out and popping him back in, or is it about a change in the batting order? We've seen him very comfortable at the top of the order. Is he maybe feeling lost at number 4?
It's interesting, when he was opening the batting, he wasn't delivering the kind of results they thought his ability should have manifested itself in. Then they said, look, he's better playing spin than against pace. So it was a conscious decision to move him down to number 4. That hasn't worked. I just wonder if this is a show of confidence from Jayawardene and the others, as if to say, look, we'll give you these games. Doesn't matter because we back you. But he could well be on playing his last game. If he doesn't play today, they'll have no option. If he doesn't score today, they'll have no option but to leave him out. But yeah, I think what that's doing is, because Kusal Pereira has been hit and miss, and Avishka Fernando's not doing very much, they're being bailed out by the talent of Nisanka and Asalanka. And that can't happen every day against a good side. I mean, if Vokes gets that little bit of movement, then they'll all be tested. I mean, I thought that spell he bowled early on the other day was just fantastic.
But of course, the talking point, I mean, I know it's England, Sri Lanka, but it's inevitable that there are many feeling the hangover of New Zealand versus India, which was certainly expected to go India's way. It now means it's only a remote mathematical possibility of India entering the semi-finals. But Michael, we obviously quoted your tweet on our show yesterday. And I think it's worth bringing it up since we've got you on the show. It's about bravado. Virat Kohli used that word. Is that one of the things that England bring to the table that India maybe didn't, apart from, of course, the era that you talked about?
Well, I think, India have got to be honest with themselves. For that group of players with all that talent, all that depth, you could possibly say there's 30 players in Indian cricket that could be playing in the T20 World Cup. They've got so much depth. They're massively underachieving. And that's been the case for a few years now. You go back to the 2015 World Cup in Australia, they underachieved then. 2019 in England, losing to New Zealand in the semi-final. T20 World Cup in India, they're underachieving. And the performance so far in this tournament has been dated. Far too safe with the bat. They're not risking it enough. And I think sometimes really good teams, and India are a really good team, but they're just not performing to their maximum. You've got to be honest and you can't be stubborn. Now, stubbornness says, that's the way we play. And by the way, they carry on playing the way they're out. And they're probably out anyway, but they're completely gone. Now, England are probably not the right team to look at, but I look at England in 2015 when they went to that World Cup, tried to play the dated game, got completely found out. They didn't pick the likes of Adil Rashid, Alex Hales at the time. You know, they went for this test match style opening partnership, 2 new white balls. Oh, that's the way we're going to play in Australia. The game has moved on. And since then, Owen Morgan's got the white ball team and he's got with a group of players who are outstanding and they've got better over the years because they've played more and they've got used to playing in the different roles. But they decided they were going to go completely aggressive with the bat. It wasn't about getting 280s, 300s. It was about getting 350s, 400s in the 50-over contest. And he gave them the freedom to just go out, express themselves. And you know what? There was 2 or 3 times early in his reign after the World Cup in 2015, they were bowled out in the 41st over, the 42nd over. And the media complained, saying, oh, you had 10 overs, you should have batted, you should have just played more conservatively. What did Owen Morgan say? No. That is the way I want my team to play. And I want my team to get used to playing aggressively for 50 overs. And then they did it. And in the T20 game, it's just been an added addition. 20 overs, not 50, just go for it. Really free up your minds. And if you get out playing in a certain way aggressively, I don't think this England team will tell you off. They'll say to you, do you know what? Go and work on that shot. Go and make sure the next time that ball's in that zone, it does go into the stands. You know, it's not the wrong shot. It's the right shot, but you've not executed it well enough. You know, and this modern game is purely about, I mean, there's so many matchups and so much data. England are getting it absolutely right in terms of that. But a lot of it is the freedom and the fearless way that you have to play. And for the way that India played in the first 2 overs yesterday, I mean, I was driving my car in there and I was listening and I was thinking, oh, what are they doing? Because you have to just have that freedom to go. And if you lose 2 or 3 early ones, then you might just assess for a few overs. But you're only assessing for maximum 2 overs because then you have to go again if you lose early wickets. But if you send that kind of style of play, Ishan Kishan, Rohit Sharma, you know, these real high-class players, if you send them out with the freedom to go out and play and whack, just smash the ball, I would say probably 8 to 9 times out of 10, they're that good that they'll come off. But if you send them out with a little bit of timid mindset, or just get off to a little start and try and get us to, 20 for naught after 4 overs, you're giving them a timid mindset. So I think India need to free up. I think they've got all the talent, all the players, all the combinations to be the best team in the world. And that is to match England. I honestly think India have that. But they're not going to do that. And I don't think they'll do it this year, but they can certainly do it in a year's time when there's another T20 World Cup, by exposing themselves to a complete different mindset of the way that they play T20 cricket. The IPL, fantastic. It's the best league in the world by a country distance. But I'll say one thing. I wonder if this Indian team are being affected by not allowing their players to go and play in other leagues around the world. And the reason I say that, a lot of the IPL venues, they're postage stamps. The grounds aren't massive. And when India come up against Old Trafford in the semi-final in 2019, big ground, it exposed them. Dubai, big ground, it's exposed them. It's not the Wankhede Stadium where a top edge goes for 6. A little flick goes for 6. So by exposing your players to more leagues around the world, I know they don't have much time, but those that are on the periphery and not in the Indian team, they could go and play in these leagues around the world. I think there'll be a better cricket team for it. That's going to be controversial because the BCCI don't like that. They don't want to expose their players to other leagues. They want to keep it for the IPL. But for India to be the powerhouse and the dominating force in white ball cricket, which I believe they should be, with that amount of talent, I think things need to change quite quickly.
Gautam, if you take the first half of what Michael said about England, we were told in high school mathematics, whatever is not A is A prime. Whatever Michael said about England is what India weren't doing. India is A prime if England is A, because he talked about fearlessness. Look, Josh Butler's got a reputation. It's not only Rohit Sharma who's got a reputation. Josh Butler's got a reputation. Jason Roy's got a reputation. And they're all still playing exactly the same way, unafraid to be out. Yesterday, I got the feeling they were all walking with 50 kg backpacks on them. They were looking really burdened. And you could see how conservative they were. Look at the words Virat Kohli spoke about afterwards. He said, we weren't brave. Our shot selection, he said, it comes out of hesitating whether or not to play it. Gautam, when was the last time you saw Virat Kohli play a tail-ender's hack? Virat Kohli is beauty on a sports ground. Because Virat Kohli finds the gaps. Virat Kohli never loses shape. Virat Kohli playing a slog to be caught at long on. And I thought, no, man, there's something happening here. And I just thought they were burdened. I think they came in feeling the pressure of expectation. What if we don't win? What if we lose? And the moment, I remember Wasim telling me about 1999, he said, we entered the field thinking, what if? And if you enter the field thinking, what if, then you're not going to do that. And I thought they were very burdened yesterday. Maybe the aftermath of the Pakistan game, but they were so burdened. And this is something we have seen Pakistan do in the past against India. Looking very tense, India looked free. But this team was so burdened yesterday. The other point about the boundaries, look at the Ishan Kishan shot yesterday. It's about a yard inside the boundary. He's got about a yard and a bit inside the boundary. That's still a 6 in Bangalore and Mumbai. So India definitely feeling the big boundaries. When you're not playing the big boundaries, you run a lot of twos. Actually, the best example I've seen of running twos was Gerard Erasmus of Namibia in the game they won against Ireland. All the fielders on the boundary ran 4 twos. Just stop, run. So I don't think India have been inventive enough, but I think they've also been burdened by this sense of expectation. What do we do? Also, the top 3 are changing all the time.
Yeah, 3 batsmen played out of position yesterday. And
what is position when you're changing?
Fair point. Fair point. That's what it was. But interesting, Michael, when you were alluding to Eoin Morgan, a few weeks ago, I had a chat with him on Zoom, and I was just doing this little survey of people's favorite one-day innings. And I had a whole list of them planned for me. And I said, and I'm sure these are one of your 5. He said, no, I'm going to take you back to just after the 2015 World Cup when they played a 5-match home series against New Zealand. That's the one you were talking about. And he said, one of the innings I played there gave me satisfaction because it was an example of the new brand of cricket we were ready to show the world. 40 overs, no problem. We can get out in 40 overs in a 50-over game as long as we get the number of runs we want.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and that's exactly what India have to do, because it's beyond the T20 World Cup. To win the next World Cup, you're going to have to be ultra aggressive. 300, we've been saying for a while, Harsha, about the Indian side, going to the 2019 World Cup, we called them a 280 team. That's what they get. They get 280. It's not enough. With that amount of talent and that amount of left-hand, right-hand combinations and freedom, they must be able to get more than that on a consistent basis. And in T20 cricket, whatever the wicket, your mindset should be with that group of players, 200. Even though it's go get 200. You go out and get 60 in the first 6. Go out and attack those initial. Chris Wokes, when you face, he's going to land it on a sixpence. So dance down and try and launch him over mid on the first ball. Why not? Try and break his play. What does he want? He wants you sat in his crease, run up, just hit the top of off stump, just above, get the ball coming around hip high. You know what he's going to bowl. He might bowl a variation if you look like you're coming down, but he won't for the first couple of balls. He's going to try and bowl. He's nervous as well. So why don't you counter-attack that and go, okay, I'm going to dance down and try and launch him. That's what Jason Roy would do. That's what Josh Buttler would do. You're not telling me Butler's a freak. He's fantastic. Roy's fantastic. But you can't tell me that KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma are any, worse than those two. They're not. They're high-class players that just need freedom. They need the management to completely back failure. Because in T20 cricket, if you fail doing it the right way, there's no problem. But I tell you what, India failing doing it the way that they're doing it at the minute is the worst possible way. Because it is so negative and it's so weak in mindset that I would prefer an Indian side to get bowled out for 90 in 10 overs. Absolutely going for it. Go for it. Because you've got all the talent to do so. And once they free up that mind, and look, they may free up now for the rest of the tournament and they may just get through. You never know. And I tell you what, if they do so, playing the right way, playing the aggressive mindset, you just never know in a World Cup. Afghanistan can beat New Zealand. There's no question about that. They nearly beat Pakistan. So India aren't out of it yet, but they are completely out of it if they don't change their mindset.
This T20, Gautam, is an irreverent young man or woman. Doesn't care for reputations. You carry your reputation out onto the ground, you're sunk already. Because there is no time to establish that reputation. Over 50 overs, maybe you can. There are comebacks. Even T20 has its ebbs and flows, but it's an irreverent young generation. You cannot carry that reputation out and say, I am so-and-so, and I make 40 or 45 or 50 every time. No, averages are the worst thing that you can carry with you onto a cricket ground. You think strike rates. But if you're thinking averages, then you're. I'm not saying they are thinking averages, but I'm telling you again, they looked very burdened yesterday. Heavy, burdened.
And Harsha, what I'll say is it's quite clear winning the toss at night is a massive advantage. So whoever bats first, They're against the game already. So what I want to see from teams that actually bat first now, right? Go for it. Because you're going to lose if you play the sensible way, because you're going to get hammered. Everyone's hammering everyone at night who's batting second. So you might as well, if you think 160 is par, you've got to aim for 190. So go for 190. And if you only get 140, well, at least you've had a go. But I tell you what, I would back teams with that amount of talent. If they went for 190, I reckon they'd get there. If they're completely committed and went for the real aggressive option with everything that they did, with all that talent and that much depth in batting, England today, they will try and go big. They will try and go massive because they know that they're behind the game at the minute because they're batting first and batting second's been an easier option. So England will think, you know what, we better get 180 today. We better get 180. And if that takes us to 200, fantastic. But they will try and get to the 180 batting first.
Only one team's done what Michael has said, and that's Afghanistan.
I was just going to say that. You took the words out of my
Pakistan.
mouth. And they won the toss and decided to bat first.
So and kept going. They finished 140 odd, but they didn't stop going. And they almost made a match out of it. If they'd been conservative, they'd have got 110 against that fantastic bowling attack.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the point I was trying to make, is that they definitely don't have any reputations. There's nothing else they bring onto the field except just their desire and will to get to a certain score. But Sri Lanka, Harsha, yes, not batting first today, but they've shown a certain kind of intent. One of the examples of their intent was the way they went after the fifth bowler against Australia. They went consciously after Marcus Stoinis and Glenn Maxwell. And that's the kind of mindset they'll have to bring against England, no matter what they're chasing.
It's a team that does go. If Kusal Perera gets going, that's fantastic because Asalanka plays just like that. Nissanka just holds back a little. Nissanka builds an innings. And we saw him the other day when he got 80, he was run a ball 50 and then he accelerated at the end, but there were wickets falling. So Nissanka is the builder, but Asalanka, Kusal Perera, Bhanuka Rajapaksa, Dasun Shanaka. I know Shanaka's strike rate 110 or thereabouts, but he can go for it as well. They will keep going at it, but if England has set them 170, 180, then it'll be a different game. 140 has produced two very close finishers in Sharjah.
We certainly have. And there's one stroke I remember of Kusal Perera, Michael, he happened to get out the next ball to a beautiful Yorker from Mitchell Starc. But the ball before that, he just danced down and hit him for six as if he was a club bowler.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mickey Arthur and Mahela Jayawardene, I think they'll be quietly pleased with Sri Lanka. I think they've played some good cricket. Those numbers tell you everything. They're only 0.1 in terms of the average in those middle overs. They're ahead in the power play and they're ahead down the back end. So I think this Sri Lankan group aren't that far away. Probably 2-3 players have been a real high-class team. But I think there's a lot of players that are in transition. They're young. And I think realistically, can they win this World Cup? No, I don't think they can. But can they gather a group of players that know exactly how to play T20 cricket for in a year's time to potentially cause a shock or two? Yeah, I think they can get to that stage. And yeah, Mickey Arthur's done a good job. They were in turmoil a few months ago back in the UK. There was players sent home for breaking COVID rules, and they've just managed to galvanise something in every game they've competed. And sometimes when on paper you're not as strong as your opponents, that's all you can do is compete. And I think they've done that really well in this year's World Cup.
They've done the first thing right. That's win a toss. They've asked England to bat first. And the last time around, when England were chasing against Australia, they could have taken their time, 16, 17, 18 overs, but there was no mystery. It was just one thing. The butler did it. And we're going to see more of that today.
He's in tremendous form, man. Josh Butler. Sometimes your eyes move towards Jason Roy, and then you discover that at the other end, I actually think Roy is the more fearless. It's just an impression that I have. And it doesn't take long for your eyes to move back to what Butler does. I just wonder if Butler is more 360 than Roy. Roy tends to punch you in the jaw. So that's why you tend to remember Roy is going boom, boom, boom there. Whereas Butler might play this, he might play this. But honestly, if you have a reputation and you can play fearlessly, there's something in the air in that England side that's saying doesn't matter. And I think Michael's spot on. Doesn't matter if you get out with the right intent. If your intent is wrong, then no. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just go boom, boom, boom and get 55 in the power play today.
I mean, I just looked at those numbers from Josh Butler. When you look at it, 5 4s, 5 6s, that's 50 runs in 10 balls.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a freak, and if he carries on in that kind of form, I think England win the World Cup.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can stop this England side. If Butler plays to that standard and gets out the traps and plays the first six, the only way you can stop England, and I think there's a reasonable amount of debate to say that you obviously can if you get Butler out, Jason Moore, they're the two in fine form, because realistically, the rest of the batting lineup haven't really done much. They haven't had to go out there and play under pressure. The likes of Liam Livingston's not really batted that much. Owen Morgan, Moeen Ali, Milan's played okay. He just plays the Milan way. So I do think this England side can be got at, but if that opening partnership continues to fire, well, I just don't think any team's going to stop.
It's been great fun talking to Darren Sammy while he's been here. And he just looks at the game differently. He said there's 20 balls you need to attack, 20, 25 balls. You attack 20, 25 balls in boundaries, you can do what you want of the rest of the balls. Even if you take singles of the remaining balls, or you play, 40, 50 dot balls and take ones and twos of the other, you've still got 160, 170 every day. Those 20 balls, keep hitting those 20 balls.
But Harsha, I mean, what is it in the water over there in the UAE? Because you look at the West Indies; they're playing a very safe game as well. A lot of the teams are playing safe. There's only really England, and you could argue Pakistan, yes, certainly, but only those two teams that really look like they're going for it. Even New Zealand, they play quite a canny game. They're quite smart, a brilliant cricket team. The likes of West Indies, Bangladesh, like we've seen in the past, who play with so much fearless mentality. There's something that they're drinking over there that's kind of making them think a little bit negatively.
There's two world-class teams here at the moment. One with the bat, one with the ball. That's it. At the moment.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll maybe give Afghanistan a little bit of that because of the attitude they've come out with. But I see where Michael's coming from. Harsha, as long as whatever they're drinking is not in your coffee, you'll be fine. Just check that out. With Harsha still with us. But before we get to the joy factor question, just a quick one. I know a lot of players have hit big sixes, but the ICC did a little digital piece on Jos Buttler hitting a six, and then there was a reaction from the International Space Station. If you haven't seen that, go and check out that clip. It's very funny. And it needed a Jos Buttler six to bring you that. And then it finished with a bit of commentary from Alan Wilkins going, when they showed the moon, no, that's one of Butler's sixes. It's still there.
Yeah, but just before I know we're about to start. One thing I've discovered is the ball doesn't go as high as we think it does. We've got the hang time on the ball that's coming up now, and the balls that we think are going very high are about 25, 26 meters. Which is just a little bit more than the length of the pitch. And I was always under the impression, people would say, "Oh, it's gone and met an air hostess in the sky." They don't go as high as we think they do.
Jos Buttler's did, Harsha. Trust me.
No, they go flat.
Yeah.
So did a couple of big David Miller sixes the other day, and that was against Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka will be remembering those couple of blows. Those were really heartbreaking for them. They'll have to come out of that quickly. Before we wrap up, we've got the intrepid Joy Bhattacharya, who's provided us today's quiz question for the day. Michael Vaughan doesn't look at these anymore with the same disdain he used to in the past. Okay, the question is, I set a test record in 2004, and in the same match, Sanat Jayasuriya was my first victim, which is unusual considering what I usually did. Who am I? Test.
I reckon that's a wicket keeper.
Fair enough. Say no more. That could just be a bit of a clue. Not that our seasoned quizzers need any more clues, but Michael Vaughan, Harsha, is getting very good at this. A season ago, the question would come on, and he'd turn away and get himself something. But now he's
got so many options. If I was him, I'd be constantly turning around and getting something. The area behind him is so well stocked.
Anyway, hashtag Cricbuzz Live.
I surely can't get two right in a week.
Oh, you got a brilliant one the other day. Right, bang on in 5 seconds before the winner actually got it. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Get your questions in. We've got just about a few seconds left on the show to get our predictions in. And Michael, England going hard, batting first. I'm going to give you whatever big number you want.
I'm going to go 175.
I was expecting Michael to say much higher than that. I'm going to go high. I'm going to go 190.
Well, I still think that's...
I'm probably completely off the mark with the Sharjah surface the way it is, but I was just paying a tribute to England's firepower. Harsha?
They hit a 4 of the third ball. 180. All bunched together.
Oh, yeah.
All
Nice.
bunched together, but interesting. Michael Vaughan, the lowest of the three. Maybe he's just playing safe while England will have some fun over there. Well, that's all we have on this build-up show to England versus Sri Lanka. Naturally, lots of discussions about India as well. We'll continue this when we come back in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox. And of course, the discussion continues further on. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Harsha. We'll see all of you soon. Cricbuzz Live.